is sunglasses. Oh, okay, well, Florian started off with an enormous amount of
sunnies. No sunnies, mate. Anybody got some sunnies, please?
1 point to Geordie. Flo's having a lot of trouble here.
There's no sunnies there.
I mean, they both sort of have the same lens, so I'm going to have to give this one to Geordie.
Wow.
Okay, so the next item is any food item. Oh, this is a closer run. Oh, Geordie's come off quicker. They've split different ways. Geordie's gone straight to the esky, so I think, oh yeah, this skipper, he knows what's up. What do we got?
Bread.
Lovely.
I got one.
The other half. So, yeah, Geordie, you were the speediest, so you get that point. 2 points to Geordie, 0 to Flo. Okay, you ready? A GoPro selfie with a member of the tech team. Oh, lucky they're all on the boat ready to go.
Hey mate, come on. Selfie.
Florian's coming in hot here. Oh, 1 point to Florian. That was a little bit intense. I'm going to have to verify those selfies a little bit later. The next item is an opposing team cap. Oh, this is confusing. Florian looks confused. Slow and steady may win the race in this one. Oh, no, Geordie's coming in hot again. That's not an opposing team hat, that's Inspire. Another team cap.
Another team.
Another team cap. Oh, yep, all right. Florian's got some serious speed of him. I think Geordie might be a little bit more thoughtful, but he's got legs.
Oh, man.
I haven't seen Geordie for about 30 seconds, so he's obviously negotiating with the Danish team next door. I'm still holding a manky piece of bread, which is just delightful. They are covering some serious distance at the moment.
Man, nobody here. Let's do Geordie's.
We might go have a look to see what's going on. Oh, there's some serious yelling going on. I think either Geordie's stealing or... I think that's 3 to Geordie and 1 to Florian. Are you ready? Have you got your breath? You got your breath? Next one, someone's accreditation.
Hey mate.
Got some different. Oh, Geordie, you're just like absolutely killing this. We've got to give him a chance. Okay, we're going 4-1 at the moment. Are you ready for your next item? All right, a reusable water bottle. I'm surprised there's not been like any biff, like someone taking someone else out, pushing them over. We've had some outside interference so far, but oh, Florian comes good. Yeah, all right, we're 2-4 at the moment. Nice work. And any kind of tool. I'm really worried that someone's going to stack it on the foil, but... All right, it's getting closer. We're at 4-3. Wow, okay, Flo, you really picked up your game when the pressure's on. Are you okay? We can continue? All right, any coach or team notes?
Any what?
Team notes. Coach's notes. Looks like there's a bit of a truce here to catch the breath. It's 4th. They're sticking together quite closely. That's an interesting tactic by Geordie. Oh, they're split. They're split ways. Whose strategy is going to pay off? We've only got one thing left after this, so we're 4-3. If Geordie wins this, I think he may have it. Oh, nice work, Flo.
Vamos! Geordie!
What's your password? This is a really tough call, but this is going to be the tie break. This is the tie break. Are you ready? Are you ready? A piece of rope. Oh, Geordie looks like he's going to come good here. Oh, that's a long rope. Is he going to get tangled? Is this going to actually backfire on him? He's got heaps on. It's going to be close. It's going to be really close. Oh, I don't know if that's a piece of rope. Okay, I'm going to have to pass that as a piece of rope. Valiant effort. It's Florian who is the winner. I did not think that was going to happen. You came out strong. It was very close, very close.
Welcome to Saint-Tropez for the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix.
Pas endormi, demi-lune à qui je crie. Arrêtez car c'est la vie, on sait jamais alors. Respire les problèmes qui nous mènent nus. Y en a toujours d'autres, on continue. Pour maintenant, on fait fait la fête en chantant. J'en ai à dire, bien concentré, tu me vois courir. N'arrête-moi pas, car tu peux pas, tu veux me joindre. Embarque, c'est ça. Pas de force dans la balance, car si tu tombes, c'est quand t'apprends. Pour maintenant, pour maintenant, pour maintenant. On fait la fête en chantant.
Now, more than ever, there's a need for change. That's why we innovate. Those who lead define the path. To know what is possible, we must strive for the impossible. We redefined a sport and continue to push the limits of possibility. Accelerating change through disruptive technology and innovation. But sailing is just the start. At sea, on land, in space. Together, could we change the world? Let's find out.
These are called FPV drones. So there's no gimbal on them, we're just hard mounting the camera. Gives quite a free, as if you were flying like a bird feeling. And then I put a headset on, pilot from the point of view of the camera on board. So we're putting the red Komodo on right now, which is a pretty nice camera. It shoots in 6K, which is great. So we could do a lot of cool tricks in editing. Try and perhaps go under the boats, maybe with the GoPro, we'll see. Did a couple flights on the Komodo, got some hopefully nice beauty shots, and then took out the GoPro to do the first under the boat shot to get a feel for it. Worked out pretty well. I'm feeling good about that, and the shot looked amazing. I think that's a lot more intimate, aggressive, and fun than the traditional beauty shots, so thinking we might do a couple more under the boat shots here. Today, the first thing we're trying to do is a big pass on Navy Pier, where 4 boats at once scrape by really closely. Flight time is super limited, so we have to be quite precise and tactical with how we utilize it, and then just pick up as much as we can and safely make it back before we run out of battery. I was able to get pretty aggressive during the actual races. We got some really cool stuff. Gonna go decompress, see, review the footage and start piecing together a little edit from our adventure. Yeah, copy.
Look how they dress, looking at them. Would it be worthwhile to just sit down? Show your face, you're the party girl. Show your face, you're the party girl. Oh.
I'm looking forward to it because I have like no experience at all.
This is the data center. Everyone has access to everything.
What could possibly go wrong? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's going to be like a drag race. I think we're good to go. He's on the inside. Turning up. Hey Max, you get to have a steer mate. Basically just we're going to steer straight. What's it feel like to the car? It's a completely different experience, but it's really cool. Jump on in. Nice mate. Nice pressure out mate. See just locked. Port's gone. Just get locked in.
Go and play that. Take you down, I'ma say that. Mine need me a couple dollars. Telling you now it's payback. So I take that. Ask them now, what say that? I've been going to the top and I got what they not, so I know that they hate that. Gone, I'm gone. Finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, they swear I had me a clone. Can't answer my phone now, just leave it there at that tone. Ballin' can't beat me up, cause I'm back in my zone now.
Great start by Jimmy Spidler.
Cause I'm back in my zone now.
It's a really good comeback towards the USA there. They will have the right of way. Denmark must keep clear.
Look at the speeds, everyone, over 80 kilometers an hour.
People trying to get a conversation, you can conversate to that tone. I got up on that throne, yeah, so I'm never alone, yeah. All these people trying to box me in, I'm Mayweather, it's on, yeah. I'm gone, finally back in my home.
Jimmy Spidhill decides to follow Tom Slingsby this time around.
America in third in the breast of the pack where they're really, really slow. They're off the foils.
Can't beat me up cause I'm back in my zone now. Cause I'm back in my zone now.
This will be the final race at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix in Saint-Tropez.
Back in my zone now.
Oh, USA! They did it! Jimmy Spidhill and the Americans have claimed the victory here at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix.
They're asking what was the secret.
Back in my zone now.
Season 3 of SailGP saw the addition of 2 new teams. Switzerland and Canada, making it the largest and most exciting lineup in the history of SailGP.
Same size race course, more boats. Season 3's underway. The French are trying to barge in. Wow!
France, you've been black flagged.
Canada managed to make the 3-way final in their inaugural Grand Prix with driver Phil Robertson, who's taking on his 3rd SailGP team, but it didn't take long for Australia to show why they're double season champions.
Australia brings it home.
Few would have thought Canada were capable of making yet another final, but this time they went one better in Chicago by finishing 2nd, with Australia making an early rush for season points.
The 2-time defending champions make it 2 in a row.
For Great Britain, they missed a home event final in just 1 cross.
It's tight. It's really, really tight.
Who's the umpires? Penalty GBR.
With Great Britain out, Denmark made their first final. New Zealand found their form winning their first Grand Prix, mixing up the pecking order for an exciting season ahead.
Welcome to the show, New Zealand SailGP. The Kiwis take the win in Plymouth.
With the season wide open, teams were out practicing ahead of Copenhagen, and disaster struck for Great Britain.
We can't repair it in time for a race.
New Zealand maintained their form and nobody could catch them.
The Kiwis take race number 1. They are the winners of race 2. They are into the podium race.
France and Denmark joined them in the final but couldn't beat the speed of the Kiwis.
New Zealand SailGP that takes the win here in Copenhagen.
The rivalry continues between Australia and New Zealand, and the Kiwis took every opportunity to get an edge on their competition.
There's something so stupid. Now we got all this damage because Pete Burling wanted 1 extra point.
Peter Burling taking the win in race number 1.
France made history with a top speed in SailGP. Jimmy Spittle and his United States team were the consistent performers on day 1 and dealt with the shift into light wind mode for day 2 for their first ever SailGP victory.
Jimmy Spithill and the Americans have claimed the victory here at the Range Rover France Sail Grand Prix.
So after 5 events, Australia lead the way, but New Zealand have chased them down and trailed by just 1 point. Great Britain hangs on to the final podium spot.
Welcome to the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near in Cádiz in the beautiful Andalusia region of Spain. As you can see behind me, the boats are getting ready for their first day of practice racing, but it's been a super quick turnaround since Saint-Tropez and a massive effort by the tech team to get all boats in the water and ready for racing. Now, these tight turnarounds is something that the tech team is going to have to get used to, because the big news in the SailGP world is that the Season 4 calendar has been released and it is going to be jammed packed with 14 events. I think everybody's excited about it, but let's hear what Jimmy Spithill had to say about the new calendar.
You know, we're all sports fans ourselves. One thing you like to see is, you know, a regular season and, you know, events every, you know, at least week or two to view and to watch. So, yeah, I think the announcement of 14 events in the next season is just awesome, and I think it's only going to grow from here.
We're in the tech site, ready to roll for our tech walk, but before we get started, I just want to touch on the weather conditions this weekend. Now, the forecast is looking better and better day by day, so we're expecting moderate to windy conditions, and I think that 24-metre all-purpose swing will be out. So I think the fleet will be really even, and there'll be action-packed drama this weekend. The other thing that was a little bit controversial from Saint-Tropez is the timeout. So obviously we had that extreme windy day, but we had that light wind day where we lost races. Now, because of this, the race management have changed the rules so that the time limit is gone from 14 minutes to 16 minutes. And if the boats complete 3 legs of the course, that the race becomes valid. Now, the race committee still has that ultimate power to cancel a race at any time, but they are the new rules going into this weekend and moving forward. So I'm here in the Australian tent. Now, this team is still at the top of the leaderboard, but just by 1 point. They've got lots of teams hot on their heels, but Tom said he does feel confident here in Cádiz because they did win the event here last year. But I think everyone's still buzzing off the drama last week at Saint-Tropez. So let's hear what the banter was at the press conference.
Oh, yeah, I'd say it again if the same thing happened.
They strategically put Liv in between us, I think, to keep us apart. I can see his point of view. I think he sees our point of view, and we're just happy to move on from here.
One thing that's ingrained in you as a child is that you support any team that plays New Zealand. Redheads have to stick together, even if that redhead may be in the wrong. So, but in all seriousness, Pete was clearly in the right, and would I do the same thing if I was in that situation? You're damn right I would.
So as we heard there, everyone's put it behind them. But yeah, I'm here in the New Zealand tent, so they are just 1 point off the Australians. Now let's go see if we can catch anyone and have a chat, see how the team's feeling without much practice racing this weekend. Might see if I can grab Liv. She was in the heat of the battle there. Hello, can I interrupt?
Hey.
Could you feel the tension between Tom and Pete in the middle there?
Oh my God. I was actually just talking about this. They came in hot with the press conference. I thought they were going to ease into the event, and then no, straight away into it, talking about redheads.
I think there's so many more boat-on-boat situations out there. I know you got to focus on your own race, but how fun is it just to, knock someone off, get the penalty on them and leave them at the back of the fleet?
Yeah, we're talking about that more and more, where it's appropriate to do the isolated situations where you're really pushing that. And I think Saint-Tropez was such a good example of that. It's entertaining to watch, but that's sailing. At the end of the day, we're racing, and that's a move you do in sailing. And it's good fun.
Now, it's been really hard to catch the athletes ahead of this weekend's racing because they actually only have 1 day of practice. Now, normally they have 2 days and on site for a little bit of time before racing, but because they've flown in, have 1 day to get out there, get everything done, get dialed in. The teams have been briefing, preparing, so it's been pretty tricky to catch them. But what I'm interested to see is, will this favour different teams? So I'm expecting this to favour the more experienced teams, like the British team. Now, they've had a few catastrophic things happen this season. They are still in third and cannot afford any more. I can't do it. It takes 2 shots. You got me.
Gotcha.
And we did hear Ben joking in the press conference that they don't want to capsize because they had a pretty eventful capsize here last year in Cádiz.
Yeah, try not to capsize. That would be a good start, wouldn't it? Yeah, we had the lead in that final race last year. We stuffed it in on the reach, which was kind of a bit of a turning point actually for us last season. Things went downhill from there for a couple of events.
One really exciting thing about this weekend, it marks the 1 year point since female athletes were racing on the boats. And since that time, every boat in all races have had female athletes racing in their boats. So it's a real milestone. And one athlete that was here last year in Cádiz for that momentous moment is Katja. So I'm in the Danish tent. I'm going to walk around, see if I can find her and see what that means to her and also all the female sailors. She's just in a briefing for the racing, but we did hear from her in the press conference, so let's hear what she had to say.
I think we are definitely on the right track. Being a strategist and being integrated in the team is everything, and then I think it's about having that long-term goal to make sure that we have consistency, because that's how you are really gonna develop. You need a time frame and goals that are possible to achieve. Next we have the France SailGP team. Now they've already rolled out and getting ready for practice racing, and this team actually is officially the fastest team in SailGP. Now although we won't see speeds to that level this weekend, I'm sure they're hoping to use that momentum, that speed, to get them into this weekend's podium race. So the Canada SailGP team, they didn't have the event they were after at Saint-Tropez coming in last, so I'm sure they're hoping to find that podium form that we saw at the beginning of the season. Now I think the conditions might favour them this weekend, and their driver Phil Robertson has been busy. He just actually won the Swedish Moth National Championships, getting one over Australian wing trimmer Kyle Langford. So I'm sure he's hoping to continue that momentum and also has some bragging rights. So the other cool thing about the Canadian team is that one of their female athletes, Isabella, actually rode her bike from Saint-Tropez to Cádiz. So pretty gallant effort, and that is part of their Impact League. So SailGP has 2 podiums, one for racing and one for the planet. So I'd love to chat to her, see how those legs are feeling after that huge ride. So Isabella, this got you to Cádiz?
It did. Saint-Tropez to Cádiz. It's a little dirty, needs a clean, but it was a really good adventure and something I would definitely do again.
How far, how many kilometers did you do?
So the longest day was 220. There's a lot of 180, 190 kilometer days. Ironically, the hardest day had the least amount of elevation gain, and somehow, thanks to headwinds, took me the longest and almost broke me at one point.
I'm sure there were some beautiful views as well, though.
Oh yeah, stunning, especially sort of just following the coastline. You saw things change as well and sort of went from really lush green scenery to a lot more just sandy tan colors. But yeah, beautiful coastline views and some really untouched spots as well, which was beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. Well done, and excited to see your team race this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, we can't leave this tent without mentioning something hilarious that happened in the press conference with Phil just showing how cool he is.
Yeah, I think she's doing a pretty fantastic job on board and teaching us a few things as well, like how to be young and cool again.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil.
No? Is that how you do it?
So the United States SailGP team will be riding off the confidence from their win in Saint-Tropez. Now, although you normally get 10 points for winning, they actually suffered damage points, so we didn't see them climb up the leaderboard as much as we would have expected. Now, the way damage points works is that the SailGP tech team are in charge of keeping the boats on the water. Now, if there's too many collisions, they can't keep all the teams racing. So there is a penalty if you have any boat-on-boat damage. Now, there's penalties for the event and also in the overall season championship. So you really want to stay away from other boats. You want to push the limit, but no contact. So the Spanish team, the home team for this event here in Cádiz. So they have struggled so far this season. They haven't been able to put it all together, but they had really good improvements in Saint-Tropez. Despite the crazy weather, they had really good starts and they finished 7th overall. Now, Geordie said it's about momentum. It's about moving up that leaderboard. And I think with these moderate to windy conditions, starting is going to be key. So if they can keep that going, I think we're going to see them potentially jump off that leaderboard. One of the big talking points this weekend is that Seb is back on the wheel with his Swiss team. So after 2 events with Nathan Atteridge, we will really be able to see if the improvements are happening within the team. Let's hear how excited Seb is to be back on the wheel.
Any position on the F50 is really cool, but on the driving I think you get a little bit of extra pressure, which is always something you look forward to.
So it's prediction time. Now, the better the teams are doing, the harder my job is to predict. But with the forecast of moderate to windy, we're also expecting a bit of a swell. So I think it's going to be about starting and flight controllers. Therefore, I'm going to go with in 3rd place. I'm going to say that the France SailGP team are going to sneak in there. The Great Britain SailGP team will be in 2nd. They got a pretty good flight controller and they are improving. And I think that Australia will come back firing. They're going to put it all together and take out the event win. Now, let's see if the SailGP data analyst David Ray is on the same wavelength as me, and we will head into the Oracle Cloud. Hello, it's prediction time. Are you ready? Okay, so I've just done my predictions. I'm finding it harder and harder. But what is the data telling you? What are your predictions?
It's a tough one. I think if I have to get it wrong again, I'll predict New Zealand and Australia in the final, and with USA. Hopefully they'll keep on their wave. They've been doing some great stuff. So,
what do you think the key will be to this weekend?
Yeah, the teams need to settle back into their old ways. After sailing with very strong winds, everything seems a bit more slower in like normal conditions, and they'll probably be all sailing with more confidence. So yeah, I expect everybody to kind of be sailing much better as a whole in the fleet.
Has anyone been emailing you, asking you questions in between events?
Yeah, you can imagine the Spanish are really keen on getting a great event. So we've been helping them a lot, and hopefully they prove me wrong and get into the final.
Well, I only had one boat the same as you in our prediction, so we'll have to see who is more correct at the end of this weekend.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you. See you guys. Okay, well, as you heard, we've got a few different predictions coming in for this weekend, but I'd be really interested to know who you're tipping, so let me know in the comments. If you want to inform your decision, head to sailgpinsights.com to get all the data off the F50 boats. And if you're watching along at home, head to sailgp.com/watch to find out where to catch all the action. That's it for the Tech Walk for the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Nia. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you for the debrief.
Saludos, buenas tardes, bienvenidos a Cádiz.
Canada, they've come off the foils. Oh, Great Britain off the foils. Now Spain, look how high they fly.
Problems for Australia's nose down into the water.
What a day. Got a lot more racing ahead of us as we go into the final day.
Bienvenidos a SailGP.
Welcome to the scenic Spanish coastline in the port city of Cádiz as SailGP reaches the halfway point of Season 3. Today, it's Championship Sunday at the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near. And with 6 teams separated by just 5 points, the huge crowds that will continue to make their way to the seawall are in for a treat. We have 2 fleet races to start the day before the field is cut down. Only the top 3 teams in the standings will make it into the podium race to determine the event winner. Alongside Stevie Morrison and special guest 2-time Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills, I'm Todd Harris. Well, coming into round 6, the overall standings look like this. It's the 2-time defending champions Australia clinging to a 1-point lead over New Zealand, with Great Britain holding down 3rd place, 8 points back of the Aussies. Denmark, France, and Canada are in positions 4 through 6 respectively, and then it's the USA in the 7th position after their big win at the last event in Saint-Tropez. They are now 17 points off the lead. The Spanish and the Swiss are at the back of the fleet. And in honor of Season 3 reaching the halfway point, let's take a closer look at the mid-season report card. And Stevie, let's start at the top with the Aussies.
Yeah, the Australians, the 2-time champions. They've been on the top of the leaderboard for over a year now, and they started the season so well. They won in Bermuda, they won in Chicago. Shown some vulnerability recently, but the scary thing is my report card would say could do better, and they're leading already.
How about New Zealand, Hannah? Winners at Plymouth and Copenhagen.
Yeah, well, they've kind of had the opposite start to the season to the Australians, who are struggling in the first 2 events. I think everyone was questioning, is this the same as Season 2? Are they going to just struggle and not quite punch through? And then they've come back with 2 wins and a 2nd place to be right behind the Aussies in the overall standings.
And Great Britain, Stevie, not able to race in Copenhagen because of damage, and they find themselves in the top 3.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the top 3, and it just doesn't really feel like this season's got started for them yet. It's been, disappointment. They've had a huge mistake. They didn't get to sail in Denmark. And I think for this man here, Ben Ainsley, he needs a win. It's been over a year. He needs a win, and he needs it soon.
Speaking of Denmark, Hannah, 2 podium races in Plymouth and Copenhagen, and looking pretty sharp here early in Spain.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with this Danish team. They've been really consistently improving, working on their communication, working on their teamwork, and just trusting the process. And with 2 top podium positions in the last few events, it's been impressive to see how they've been getting on.
Stevie, for the French, you'd have to say stock up, runners up in Copenhagen.
Well, yeah, I mean, and also the fastest boat in their 50 now after that big day in Saint-Tropez. Contan said, I've just got to sharpen up my tactical game. I think if they do that, they're going to be some team.
And finally, the USA, Hannah, winners of the last event in Saint-Tropez.
Yeah, well, the big question for me with this USA team is it just a flash in the pan? They've really struggled at the start of the season, got a win in Saint-Tropez. They really need to back that up and start winning to be in with a chance at the top 3 when it comes to the grand final in San Francisco.
And that is everyone's goal, being the top 3 at the end of the season to battle it out for more than $1 million. So who will it be? Big step today as we are under 10 minutes to go until the start of racing today here on Championship Sunday. Again, there are 6 teams within 5 points of each other. Right now, let's take a look back on what happened on day number 1. We welcome you to the Spain Sail Grand Prix.
Day 1 saw the 9 teams battle 1-meter waves.
Great Britain off the foils.
And problems for Australia as they put that nose down into the water.
In Canada, they've come off the foils. They jumped out of the water. Look at the speed.
New Zealand chased France down for the lead in race 1, and even with Delapierre defending hard, the Kiwis picked their moment and sailed away for the win.
Race number 1 here in Spain goes the way of the Kiwis.
And we're going race 2. It's going to be a drag race. Australia are well lined up. They should be fast in from here.
The Australian team dominated race 2, but it was the British who sailed aggressively into second place.
France must keep clear. It's a tight turn. They're going to struggle to keep it foiling on the French boat from here. That was so aggressive by Ainsley.
It is Australia who have made the turn as they make their way to the finish.
Great Britain defended well against Spain for second, but Geordie Sharon and his team were happy with their second podium result.
Oh, what a start! The British boat, they're the ones in control. They were the first to turn the boat left.
Australia, France and USA chased, but nobody broke through.
Ben Ainsley guides his team to a victory in race number 3 here in Spain.
5 points separate the top 4, but nothing is decided yet.
So very tight at the top of the leaderboard, and this is why. Look at the results across the board. Australia had a tough start to the day yesterday, but bounced back nicely with the first to the second. France consistent on the day, tied on points, 24 with the Aussies. Great Britain, a terrible first race, but again, great way to finish the day with a second and a first place. And the Americans have been consistent across the board. And Stevie, tell you what, everything wasn't perfect yesterday, but if you found that consistency, if you found the way to figure out the way this bay was working with that big swell bouncing off the wall, you did yourself a solid.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tricky day. That was a learning day. I think that's probably why all the teams are so close. We can just see the sea was so sort of settled. It was big swell. And as the waves are moving, it's putting different loads on that main foil to the left there. And if you get more load, more speed over the foil, it lifts the boat out of the water. And for the flight controllers, it was so hard to judge right in front of this bounce back on the seawall.
Yeah, the bounce back on the seawall sounded like it was making life really hard for these guys. But we just saw time and time again how one big costly manoeuvre like that where you crash down really impacted your race and meant there was kind of no way back. And a lot of the teams were saying how you crash down, the boat fills up with water, and it was really hard to get going again.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great example there, Hannah, wasn't it? The British were in 4th or 5th in this race, and they ended up back in 9th in the first race, which was really for them a fairly horrendous result for the British crew. But all the teams, I think, grew through the day.
Yeah, especially the Americans, the French, and the Great Britain squad did a great job of learning on the fly.
Yeah, they really did, and we saw such a marked improvement between the start and race 1 and then race 3, when everyone was getting to grips much more with how to sail the boat safely around the course.
So we'll see what happens today, Stevie, because the course will be a little bit different, conditions slightly different, but again, these are the best in the world.
They are, and I think learning's really the key to it. I mean, early on in the day, they were struggling to stay on the foils, and this foiling efficiency chart here, we see there, number 1 in race 3, Great Britain, 100% fly time. But what they're all having to do is not fly as high. We see New Zealand 5th highest, but they struggle for stability. The top stability is what all the teams are looking for. And well, we had a great chance after the racing to get down, talk to the athletes, and actually find out what it was like for them on the water.
I think the key was consistency. Consistency, try to keep the boat with a high percentage of flight time, and this was where we were focusing at all, really, and yeah, it was paying for us, no? This morning we were saying, can we push a bit? And we said, okay, let's keep consistency, because if you do a big mistake, it costs you a lot.
We do try to help the flight controller, painting a bit of a picture for them. They only see the leeward bow and the leeward foil, so we do try to say big set of waves coming here. We might say cross swell coming here. We might say short choppy waves but not lasting long, and we do try to help them out because they don't get a chance to look around.
I think we've got to be a little bit more conservative in the downwinds. I think we were pushing too hard and which made us crash a few times, and you can't really afford any crashes. You lose too many meters in a crash. So I'll try to get us ahead, and then we can sail a little bit slower on the downwind so we don't have to push so hard to catch up.
Yeah, yesterday was a bit wavy and more than usual. My job was just to try to keep an eye on the tactic, because I think it was really technical for all the rest of the team. So my job was just to keep looking around and give them some good information about the wind.
I guess yesterday for the flight controller, we went from chasing like a minimum immersion to just a game of averages, trying to keep the boat actually in the water at times, and just not trying to jump out of the water, so we could, safe and steady was the way to play it.
Big crowds are filling in nicely on the seawall. That is prime viewing real estate as we get ready for the first race of Championship Sunday. 2 fleet races, and then it'll be the podium race as we come up on 4 minutes to go before the start of racing. Good time to check in with the 4th member of our broadcast team. Down on the water, it's Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin.
Well, today promised a bit more breeze, but it's actually a bit lighter than we originally thought, with just 15 km/h winds coming from the west-southwest, gusting up to 20 km/h. With the hazy cloud around, this sea breeze is unlikely to build much more than we see now. And as we saw yesterday, there was that big swell coming towards the seawall, and we've got the same situation today. It's a little bit more uniform, so expecting it not to be as hard as yesterday, but it'll still be a bit of a learning day. Right now, I'm seeing a bit of funnel of wind coming down that seawall, that city side near Cádiz, so wouldn't be surprised to see the teams head that way for more wind today.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. 3:20 to go before we start race number 4. France, one of those teams that really sailed well yesterday. They found their consistency out on the water despite the tough conditions. And just moments ago, Stevie Morrison spoke with Quentin Delapierre.
Hi, Quentin. Great day out there on the water for the French and your team yesterday. But there's just 5 points separating the top 6 boats. How are you going to be approaching today?
Yeah, hi Stevie. Yeah, yesterday was a good day, and today completely won. So just try to keep our way of sailing, our facility to play, and yeah, it doesn't matter about the points. I think if we sail the boat how we want, it will be a good result at the end of the day.
And what do you think was the main thing you were doing well yesterday then?
I think the flight height stability was really good, and we improved also our starts regarding Saint-Tropez. So it's way easier when you are directly in front of the fleet, and you can just sail the boat how you want.
Well, great work. Good luck today. Thanks very much for your time, mate.
So we're just moments away from the first race. Before we go racing, Stevie Morrison takes us through the course here on the Atlantic Ocean.
Hitting the start line fast on the foils is the key to a good start. It's then a sprint to Mark 1 as the fleet heads in towards the big crowds in Cádiz. At Mark 1, we'll see the first split in the fleet, and they'll sail off in different directions with the teams trying to choose the side of the course that they think is going to give them the quickest time to gate 2. When they get to the gate, they've got a big decision to make as they can turn left or right. For the leading boats, they're looking to select the side of the course with the best wind to move them up to gate 3 the fastest. For the boats behind, the confusion and the turbulent wind makes that a much harder decision. Remember that sailboats don't sail fast unless they're sailing an angle to the wind, so we'll see them zigzag their way around the course, looking for the fastest course. The big swell coming into the bay here in Cádiz means we've got a lot of lumps and bumps for those F50 crews to avoid. Accuracy, staying on the foils, will mean you'll be up at the finish fastest, right in front of the big crowds here today in Cádiz.
So 50 seconds away from the start quickly. Hannah Mills, our gain is Great Britain's loss. You're with us today. What do you see and what do you think the strategy is going to be?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a really tough race. We've got 6 boats within 5 points of each other. They'll all just be looking for a clear start, get to Mark 1 in time at the front of the fleet.
Well, yeah, and here we go. We see the crews lining up. They're all so close to the line. Off to the left-hand side of our screen, the New Zealand crew caught my eye, but it's the United States and Australia with some space at the moment. Great Britain in their favoured position towards the pole position. Blue mark there at the downwind end of the line towards the top of our screen. It's all about timing now. Already foiling from the left-hand side of the screen. It's New Zealand, but the USA as well. Have they timed it right? They're closer to the line. Jimmy Spittle's USA boat. Will he turn down and head to the line? It's going to be the USA and Great Britain looking to break the line on time. Watch for it to turn white. And it's a clear start there as they blast away towards Mark 1. It's going to be a fast angle for the USA, but can Ainsley's British boat hang on the inside?
It is all on here in race number 4, Championship Sunday. 6 teams separated by 5 points as they make their way to mark number 1. Everyone looking to get into that podium race.
Todd, and it's such a big first race. The points in this race are so tight going into it that for all of the top 6 crews, it's massive how well they perform here. And Canada, well, can they put their season back on track with some good racing today here? Watch this first turn down. How good's your control on the flight control? First place for Great Britain at Mark 1. Ainsley's crew, they're coming off the back of a win yesterday, Todd. Confidence high. Luke Parkinson said in the interviews he was just loving these tricky conditions.
And Hannah, they certainly learned because Great Britain had problems.
Background there, Todd. Have a look at the Americans. What a costly mistake that could be. One mistake could define your day, and they're going to be stuck in the water there. They've got too high as they tried to turn the boat, and they've misjudged that massively. They're going to be out the back. It's going to take a long time to recover.
We talked about this yesterday, Hannah. If you have one mistake, you could probably recover in a six-leg race. But if you have two mistakes in these conditions, not so much.
Here we go. Let's have a look. Look how high they get. You see the rudder at the back of the boat there pops out the water. They completely lose control. They've just totally misjudged the amount of lift under the boat, and it got lifted too high.
Yeah, I mean, those costly manoeuvres, they really can end a race, so it'll be really interesting to see if the USA team can get themselves back into this race and in contention.
So the United States goes from 4th to 9th place because of that maneuver. Still on leg number 2 of 6. Remember, this is race 4, then it'll be race 5, and then the top 3 teams will battle it out.
We're on board the Spanish. They look like they're sailing fast. They're up to 2nd. It's tight. When they come back together with the British and the Canadians, it's going to be the Spanish with the right of way. Not a good jibe though, 32. The green at the top of the mast suggests they're just fast enough to foil. But the British, well, they're a good lead at the moment. Our ladder lines, these lines on the screen showing that there's some 50-metre lead for the British as they look to head back to the Cádiz shoreline where they think they're going to find more wind.
Gate number 2 and Great Britain picking off where they left off yesterday. Remember, they won race number 3, finished 2nd in race number 2. So Ben Ainsley and his crew looking very smooth, and they have come to grips with this course.
Yeah, and it's great to see this young Spanish team coming around in 2nd. You know, they're in 6th overall at the moment. They need to have a good race here to be in with a chance of making that podium race.
And the big movers on that first downwind leg to the New Zealand boat, Todd. They were out the back, but they've dropped under 30 kilometres an hour, and they're turning. They're up to 4th, but can they hang on? Slingsby as well.
All right, is that a situation of swell or is that a situation of flight control error?
No. They were trying to make a tactical move there on board the Australian boat to turn away from the fleet, but they've got slow. Look, less than 30 kilometres an hour. New Zealand just up to 30. Green at the top of the mast on Australia as well. Both boats should be able to foil, and these are the title challengers there, and they're really struggling in the pack. Canada are fast at the moment, but Great Britain, they seem to have got the boat going well, and it's going to be a test of strength here. How high dare you fly the boat?
And USA just coming into view. Remember, it was that first maneuver that put them both holes into the water. They have dropped all the way back to 9th place.
It's a bit of a drag race across here, and we can see from the graphic in the bottom left that if it stays like this, Spain do claw their way into that top 3, but obviously we've still got another fleet race to go.
Oh, how would the home fans love that, Hannah. As the boats line up, Great Britain, they turn away. The wind has rotated to the favour. The Canadian boat has turned to the right. When Canada turn, they'll have the right of way. Spain have got to keep clear of them.
One fast out of this.
A lead change here. Canada showing that they've sailed the tactics very nicely, and do they stay on the foils? No, under 30 kilometres an hour at the top of the mast. It's so hard to stay on the foils. If you fall off the foils and get slow, you can lose a lot quickly. But Canada, they're going so well here, and the British boat, they've gone from 1st to 3rd, and hear the sigh of Ben Ainsley there, pure frustration.
Yeah, it looks really, really tricky out there for these guys and girls sailing these boats. Making those manoeuvres and not falling off the foils seems really tough.
First race of the day, it is Canada out in front, Spain in 2nd, Denmark, Great Britain has fallen back to 4th. Then it's the Kiwis, the Aussies, the Swiss, the French, and the USA in dead last.
Very short. We'll see where we get to. I think we sort of keep it simple. Knee right, must go right turn bottom.
Keep it simple seems like a pretty good strategy from Phil Robertson there, but easier said than done. We can see here, look, out on their own, Denmark, they're going really, really fast at the moment. These yellow lines here, they suggest that's where you could make it to the next gate, but I think the Danish boat have had to turn too soon. We're hearing the voice there on the Danish boat of Sejersted. And on the ladder lines, he shows us 2nd place. He's done a beautiful job of sailing fast up here, but they forced it. They've fallen off the foils. Bit of a mistake.
We've got problems here. Way off the pace upwind.
Oh, way off the pace. Just feeling slow on the British boat, and it shows. Look how fast this Canadian boat's. Look, they're foiling, and they're away from the fleet. And Ainsley now, not only have the Danish passed him, the Spanish, the Canadians, and he's got Burling in his wing mirrors now. Big pressure. The yellow line here. the ley line makes it to get to gate 3. What is it on the British boat, Hannah, that's making this struggle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's making them struggle, but they're clearly having issues upwind. It's clearly frustrating for the team. So it'd be really interesting to see whether they can kind of pull it back, recompose themselves, and still get a countable result.
The F50s are rounding gate 3, presented by Near. And the first to go through, it's the Canadians, followed by Spain, Denmark, and Great Britain.
What a leg there by the Canadians, Todd. That was really superb sailing. And the young Spanish. There's a lot of pressure on this Spanish boat. Home fans, but there is second at the moment. That's going to be so good for their chances of making the final. As we see Denmark, they're finding their form as well. A terrible day yesterday by Sehested's own admission, but right back in it. Oh,
Canada splashes down.
How much is that going to cost them? Big error. Sounds pretty calm.
Yeah.
Sound pretty calm. They've got to get back up over 30. It's Swiss and Australia. Australia have got to be careful of the Swiss here. Oh, I don't know if the Swiss were really allowed in there. They're pushing it. They're pushing their luck. But first up on the foils, it's Australia.
This is the umpires. Penalty Switzerland, relative Australia, not entitled to mark room.
There you go. They were just diving in there. Aggressive move by Seb, but mistake in the end.
Shep Snyder back as the driver for Switzerland SailGP as Nathan Outridge is off testing.
Back at the front, Todd. Well, that mistake by the Canadians not too costly yet. They're still leading. The Danish, well, they've got the right of way over the Spanish boat. But look, here go the Canadians.
So, Stevie, what was the difference between the air the Canadians made and the air the Americans made?
I think they just didn't fall off the foils quite as dramatically here. We can see the Canadians doing a great job of sailing the boat fast all the time. So even when they fell off the foils, their average speed, they've kept high. They could get back on the foils quicker.
There's the current situation. This is leg 4 of 6. First race of the day, one more fleet race to go, and then only the top 3 will take place and battle it out in the podium race.
Tight cross here between New Zealand and Great Britain. Great Britain has the right of way. Can the New Zealand boat get across ahead? It's going to be tight. I wouldn't be surprised if Ainsley asked the question of the umpires there, but I think it was okay. This New Zealand boat, look how the Spanish boat's struggling to progress down the ladder lines at all. They're sailing nearly across the course, fall off the foils, and you really, really get slow.
Is that a case of Great Britain sending dirty air towards the Spanish boat?
It is now, but earlier on I think they just made a mistake. Look at the race to the final here, Todd. It's so tight. New Zealand on the top of the leaderboard. Canada, look how far away they are now. Nearly 300-metre lead for Phil Robertson's team. We're listening to Phil at the moment. Hear how much he's having to talk about the waves to get that information to Billy Gooderham, the flight controller, as to what's coming next.
Well, Canada finishing this high hand is not that big of an impact on the rest of the fleet because they were so low on the overall after the start of today in 7th place, only on 12 points. So the fleet can give some points away to Canada, but that's going to hurt teams like USA and New Zealand.
Have a look at this, Hannah. Look, fall off the foils as New Zealand done to the right of our screen, and they're almost having to sail the wrong way to try and get back up on the foils. One mistake is so costly. And well, it's Australia. Slingsby, the old master, he's come from nowhere through to 3rd. Here we go. Well, Australia, they need a good result. They're an overnight leader, but they need a good result to stay in the final. We've not seen the French doing too well, but for the Spanish, for the New Zealand team and the Americans, it's crucial they get a good result. Ainsley up to 2nd. Australia up to 2nd. There's definitely more wind near that Cádiz shoreline. That seems to be a good place to head for.
And the battle for the top 3 continues to change rapidly. Just moments ago, it was Australia, New Zealand, and Great Britain that looked to have it locked up. And right now, it's Great Britain, Australia, and the USA because the Americans have now slid themselves into 5th place.
It's changing so quickly, Todd. The New Zealand boat fell off the foils, and that could be terminal for their race. I think they're back to 8th on the leaderboard at the moment.
So those are the boats that would make it into the final, Great Britain and Australia and the USA if the race stopped right now. But remember, we still have one more fleet race, so things will change again. It looked like the USA squad, Stevie, was moving up quickly, and now they've found a dead pocket of air.
If you can just stay on the foils, you can stay over that magic 30 kilometres an hour when our mast turns green and suggests you're going to get to go on the speed, it just means you're going to be able to get back on the foils. But now we've got Australia off the foils, Great Britain have the right of way. It's so tight here. And Australia, they have to turn away here from the British boat. But green up on the mast, they're up and flying again.
Well, these conditions are tricky. Everyone talked about the swell yesterday, going up against that seawall and rebounding back into the fleet. We'll check in down on the water with Lisa Darman and get her take on what's going on with these tricky windy conditions.
It's super tricky out here, Todd, and I think the pressure has actually dropped across the race course. It's very gusty, so that's why we're seeing some teams foiling and some teams not foiling. And I think it's really the timing of when the teams turn on a good part of the wave in good pressure. So it's a really tricky day for the strategist as well as the flight controller.
And Hannah, that's got to be frustrating the crew because you've picked a good course, you think you see pressure out there, and then all of a sudden it just disappears.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. You know, it's really tricky to see the pressure when the sea's so unsettled as it is here in Cádiz today. So very frustrating, but you know, you just have to keep your head up, keep finding the next bit of pressure and keep making the next right decision.
What strikes me, Todd, is this Australian boat. They were in the pack, they were struggling, and they've moved through to second. Now the British, we saw in that first upwind leg, they were struggling for speed. They seem a little bit better this time. They're managing to keep themselves in the game, but Slingsby and his Australian boat, well, maybe 150 metres behind the Canadians at the moment, but they've sailed through the fleet. That just seems so hard.
And look at the change on the standings. New Zealand now in dead last. They've moved up to 8th. USA in 7th. Spain has dropped back to 6th. They weren't in the running for a while. Spain in 5th, but it is all Canada right now. 200-meter lead, and this is leg 5 of 6. It's up to the next gate and a left-hand turn to the finish line, and the Canadians looking to take the win here in race number 4.
George de la France said, get ourselves a safe lay line. Let's make sure we get far enough out that we only have to do one more manoeuvre. We should see, yeah, the yellow line coming into that. Once the Canadian boat's sailing close to and parallel to that, they should be well lined up to make the next gate without doing any more manoeuvres, and we've seen how costly manoeuvres are.
No question about it. So the Canadians looking to lock this one up in race number 4. The real battle now is for second place. As you look at Australia and Great Britain, they'll battle out. That's worth a lot of points because as the rest of the fleet is at the bottom of the course, Stevie, they have sailed into absolutely zero pressure.
Well, that's right. They're down at gate 4 at the downwind end of the course, and look, there's just so little wind, Todd. The Americans off the foils, the New Zealand boat off the foils, the Spanish, all of those boats are fighting for the final. If they can't get a top result, and the British, the Canadians and the Australians just get themselves really well set for the final.
Into gate number 5, it'll be Canada first. Keep your eye on the battle for second place, although Australia looks to put in some distance on Great Britain. But coming through the gate 5, and now it's a straight shot to the finish line. It's Canada SailGP as they are back in the winner's circle. Phil Robertson and the rest of his crew needed this one desperately as they came into today. They were in 7th place, sitting only on 12 points, and this win will be sweet for the Canadians as they cross the line and win race number 4.
Great performance, Todd. That was a really great performance by that Canadian boat. One mistake, they did fall off the foils, but the calmness of the recovery was superb. Talking about calmness of recovery, well, the Australians did a fantastic job, and the New Zealand boat, not moments ago, they were leading the event overall, and right now they could have lost their chance of the final with this bad result. For Australia, though, they look pretty good for a spot in the final.
So Australia will claim second, big points for them, and the battle really is going to come down to, Stevie, who finishes like in 4, 5, and 6 because those points are valuable and it's so close. Remember, coming into the start of the day, there were 6 boats all within 5 points.
Yeah, the French have done a nice job to get themselves in the hunt for the final. GBR, that's a good position for them in the race to the final, but for the Spanish, I think the 6th place might still give them a mathematical chance, but for the Spanish, the US, they're going to struggle to catch this British boat now, I think, in this race to get to that final. Brilliant result for Ainsley, brilliant result for Slingsby with a 2nd and a 3rd. And the Danes as well, look, they were last yesterday. They've really been learning well. French, this could be an absolutely crucial 5th place for Pontin de la Pierre.
Keep your eye on the clock. The race will be ended at 16 minutes, and then they will go back to where you were on the last mark. So that will be key as they do the count back. So they've done themselves a solid, has Canada, Australia, and Great Britain getting through the course. But Stevie, for everyone else, it is a scramble. It will terminate in less than 40 seconds.
It will, and we'll go back to the positions that we had back down there at gate 4. And Well, it's going to be interesting to find out. Contan having to turn the boat one more time on the French boat. Razor focus. They still want to hope to make it, but 25 seconds, I think it's probably a bit too hopeful. Denmark, they could just sneak themselves to the finish line. 4th place will be a great result, and I think they were 4th at the last gate anyway.
Denmark coming into this 4th race in last place only on 9 points, so this will be a nice morale boost for them. And if they can get to the line in under 10 seconds, I think they're going to be short, Stevie.
I think they are going to be short. So we're going to take the results from back at gate 4 for any boats after this point now where we've got to the end. So the first 3 places there as we see, and we're going to find out where the positions were at gate 4. I think for the Danish fans, though, they were still in 4th place, so they should still take that 4th place from this race.
So light winds on legs 4 and 5, and race management has terminated the race. So the only teams to make it through to the finish line would be Canada, Australia, Great Britain, and Denmark. Hannah Mills has got her abacus out there trying to crunch the numbers to figure out who is going to be in the top 3. But Stevie, this is going to be a huge moment to find out where you were and what exactly you got able to get done out on the course before that 16-minute mark.
So for me, this key moment was the USA team, you know, this high pressure maneuver down the first downward leg to gate number 2, and they just stuffed it in the water, and we saw how difficult it is once you hit the water like that, how difficult it is to get the boat back up and foiling. And for me, that might be the end of their chances of making the podium, but we'll have to wait and see. You know, huge pressures on the boat as well, and hopefully there's no boat damage from crashing down like that. The second key moment for me, and there was lots in this race, was the Spanish team. You know, they were sat in 2nd place, comfortably in the top 3, making that podium race. Obviously, it was one more race still to go, but a terrible manoeuvre from them as well, coming off the foils and then taking an incredibly long time to get back up and going, finding themselves at the back of the fleet and struggling to come back from there.
A very tricky course to open up Championship Sunday as we take a look at the race-by-race standings and focus your eyes on race number 4. And this is where it gets tricky. France will finish in 5th, the USA in 6th, and Spain will finish in 7th.
The Danes are struggling to control the F50. They're flying too high.
Oh no, another big mistake from Nikolai Sehested and his crew.
It's always been a question about if the Danish team is good enough to be in SailGP, are we good enough to not just be 9th place the whole time? I think that creates hunger to prove them wrong.
Of course, if you get publicly doubted, it takes a lot of confidence to keep going.
First event of the season, and Nikolai Sehested has surprised us all with a new lineup.
The Danish squad now has more sailors than you can fit in the boat at any one time.
For the SailGP, it takes a sort of a special type of leader and character to lead a 50 team. The team always comes first. The team always comes before each single individual period.
Well, we've just finished race 5 and the Danes are out of the final. Just 4 points. Only 4 points have made all the difference. It's not the result Nikolai Sehested was looking for.
And I can guarantee you, Stevie, that the Danish bench is now filled with sailors thinking, let me in, give me a chance.
I think we might have to turn the pressure up a little bit more.
The Danes have been very close in the first 2 Grand Prix of the year. Will it be 3rd time lucky?
It's been a lot of struggle, a lot of doubts, a lot of questions, and we always knew we were going to get there, but we just had to show to the rest of the world that we would get there.
Nikolai Sehested has led the Danes into their first SailGP final.
For the outside world, it's all about performance. For us, it's not. It's about the process.
Race 3 and the Danish seal the deal. They've made it into their 2nd final.
We really evolved and learned the most in the hard times, and we've been very fortunate to have a hard time to begin with as a team. As long as you can handle it, then you come out better on the other side. That's so.
back in beautiful Spain after the end of race number 4. Canada gets the win, followed by Australia and Great Britain. Stevie, they did enough. Tell you what, Canada looked good. Australia kept themselves in the mix.
Yeah, Australia did a fantastic job to come through the fleet in that race. And Tom, we got a chance to come down with you on the water there. Of course, we get to work in the world of hindsight up here. And in hindsight from yesterday, what did you learn that's made you look so fast in that race today?
I'm not sure what we learned there. That was a game of just adapting to the conditions. We had plenty of breeze at the start, and the breeze died off quite a lot during the race and made it really tough to stay on the foils. We were able just to stay in maybe a little bit more wind and just perform some good foiling jibes, and that got us up to the front.
And Tash, the wind looks like it's moving around a lot of the time. Is it easy to see how to find the fastest route around this course, Tash?
I'm not sure Tash heard that, but you got that, Tash?
Hey, sorry, I missed that.
Oh, just wondering how easy is it to see where the wind is to find the fastest way around this course, Tash?
Be tricky and hard to predict, especially with the sea state and just so much carnage like going on with heaps of boats around. So got to be careful and yeah, keep our eyes open obviously and hope for the best.
Oh well, let's hope for the best. It was a brilliant race. Good luck, last race, so go enjoy yourself.
So coming up on 3 minutes to go before the all-important start of race number 5, and then the field will cut down to 3 for the podium race. The fans out in force. They would love to see Spain get into that podium race. Right now, they'll need work because they are currently sitting in 6th place. Everyone wants to know about the conditions, so now we go down on the water and check in with Lisa Darmanin. Lisa, can you hear us down on the water?
Well, Todd, it is a lot lighter, like we heard Tom say, but what we're finding out here is these waves are like speed bumps. If you were driving down the road, it's just slowing them down, so it's harder to execute those foiling turns. The other thing that's happening out here is the British, they were struggling in that race. They had some problems with their rudder. They're set to swim in the water to check it. There's a little bit of damage, but they're not going to go for a rudder swap. So I can see them doing practice race lap for the race, and hopefully they will be ready to take on this start.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Coming up on 2 minutes to go before the start of race number 5, and then the field will be cut. Stevie, I'm sure they're probably hoping for one thing, more consistency from Mother Nature.
The course for race 5 is 6 legs. Axis is 238. Wind is approximately 16 kilometers per hour.
And that was Melanie Roberts, the race manager, giving the dimensions and everything, Stevie. So obviously everyone would like to see more consistency from the wind.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting use of the word approximately from Melanie, I thought, on that one there. I mean, the wind is variable, you know, we are powered by nature and we have to deal with what Mother Nature gives us, and it is a tricky day, and there's going to be some tense people because this race now for the final is going to be all on. Australia are very well set. Great Britain and France in 2nd and 3rd. They have got a bit of a buffer, but bad result, and it could turn around pretty quick.
And Hannah, look at 4, 5, 6, and 7, still with a chance to get into that final.
Yeah, they're all still with a chance here, USA, New Zealand, Spain, Canada, but I think the main thing is thinking about the season overall standings, and actually, you know, a 4th is so much better than a 6th, so that's still a really important race.
Keep your eyes on Great Britain, France, USA, New Zealand, because they have the most to gain. They're in the most, I guess, the catbird seat, Stevie, because a bad mistake or a bad start here could really do them in.
You've got to get a good start. 43 seconds to go, and you've got to hit this start line on the foils because trying to accelerate in this light wind is really hard. Now let's have a look here. We can see to the left of our screen, New Zealand, they're manoeuvring really aggressively, trying to wiggle away time to keep on the foils. The United States are well positioned in front of the fleet, and Great Britain to the bottom of the line. Can they keep going? Australia looks slow in the water, and I think will struggle to be fast from there. It's about timing at this stage, and the United States look like they're early with 15 to go. They all look really early with this time to go here.
New Zealand.
Got to watch for that line to turn white to see how the timing is. I don't think he's room in here. Could be a protest on New Zealand. He sneaks around. He's over early. Oh, they're all so early.
3 laps early. OCS, USA, Spain, New Zealand.
Oh, Spain, New Zealand and the USA, all the boats that needed a good result. They knew they had to push. They pushed too hard, but they're going to have to drop to the back of the pack now to clear themselves of this penalty. GBR are stuck in not much wind, but Canada again, they're doing a great job. Canada and France are going to be in good positions here, but look, the Australians in last place.
So the team that's leading on points, Australia in the back of the fleet. The USA back on terms, and it is Canada for the second race in a row out in front.
Oh, I tell you what, Todd, it's going to be an absolute disaster for the US and the Spanish and the Kiwis at the back of the pack. But New Zealand up to 6th already. They're going to need to move through to a top 3 position, I think, to have any hope of a final.
For the USA, they need to beat France, they need to beat New Zealand, they need to beat Spain if they want any chance of getting into the final.
Here's the points, Todd. At the moment, we see the French in good place. Canada are just a point away. If Great Britain lose one boat and Canada can stay in the lead, they could make the final. All about this manoeuvre. This first turn here will be massive in this race, Todd. Can any of the boats stay on the foils? Watch in now. 30 kilometres an hour at the top of the mast is the magic number. If they can stay over that, they should be able to foil. Green for France, green for Denmark, and they're still foiling on Canada. Wow, great manoeuvres under pressure. Penalty on Denmark, though. They must have gone out of bounds. Means they're going to have to drop back 20 metres compared to the French, which will put them behind the French boat here, I'd have thought. They're going to have to drop back without losing too much distance. It's all on in this race for the final here. Canada, what a performance under pressure, Todd, at gate 2.
Very calm. Phil Robertson, the driver for Canada SailGP. Remember, they had a great mid-season form, and they were looking very good, Canada was, as they were coming off a great showing not only in Chicago, but a good showing in Bermuda as well.
Yeah, this is really interesting. You know, if the results stay as they are right now, Canada will make that final and Great Britain will not make the final. So, really important race.
Can't have been easy for you to say that, Hannah. I wouldn't have thought there. The French in second, well, they're sailing a great race here under pressure. Look how tight it is in the pack. Canada just struggling to stay on the foils. Looks like the disturbed wind of the fleet coming down to the gate, slowing them up. Jimmy Spithill, he's got himself back in the race here, but he's going to need some serious places on the here. New Zealand boat, one more turn before the gate. The Swiss, New Zealand can't go inside the Swiss. The Swiss have the right of way here. Nightmare time for the Kiwi boat. It looks like he's going to try and push in. There's no room. Oh, surely that... Eye of a needle, Todd.
This is the umpire's penalty. New Zealand, relative
no.
Switzerland, not entitled to mark room.
That could be it.
Penalties for barging.
That could be the final. Too aggressive. Barging in is how Craig described it. He's got to get back behind the Swiss now, well behind the Swiss. He's going to have disaster. New Zealand almost got themselves back into a hunt of a final race.
Are you surprised that he didn't go to the other side and follow the Americans?
He'd just done a turn there, Todd. Look, he's only just green on his mast, and he's trying to dive inside. Switzerland owned the right. There's no room for the New Zealand boat. There's only room because Seb Schneider turns away to allow him in. I think they know the standings, Todd. You've got to make this final. Burling knew he had to be aggressive. One step too far.
So at the halfway point of this 5th race of the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near, and it is on. France, Australia, USA, they could be in a position now to get themselves, because Jimmy Spithill and the USA team, Hannah, they're up to 4th.
Yeah, they're up to 4th. They are absolutely flying along this leg. And as you can see, bottom left of our screen, currently they're sitting in that top 3 podium position, which is an amazing achievement and a great comeback.
Canada out in front. Denmark sits in 2nd. France way on the left-hand side of the course, and they are in 3rd.
And they've turned near the city there, Todd, and they've fallen off the foils. They're under 30 kilometres an hour. So this is going to be a big moment for the French. I think the French and the Australians, I don't know if anyone can fully relax, but they've got the best chance to relax, really. Canadians, well, they need the US to make a mistake now. It's a bit out of the Canadians' hand. All they can do, sail the boat fast, sail away.
Yeah, they're doing everything they can. I mean, they won the last race, they're leading this race. That's all we can expect in terms of a chance to make that final.
Graphic on the left, that's how it is right now on the course, but still a lot to sail for. Still legs 3 through 6 to go, and the conditions changing, as we've heard from Lisa Darmana down on the water. Very shifty, very puffy. There you see the USA boat trying to keep themselves in that top 4 position. If they can do that, stay ahead of Australia, and Spain, and New Zealand, Great Britain, they've got a shot.
I mean, every manoeuvre is such high tariff at this point, you know, every position counts, so the crews will really be feeling that pressure when it comes to the manoeuvres.
I wonder if Phil knows it, because he could maybe aim at Jimmy Spithill here and make it hard for the American boat. I wonder how well he knows the points. Can he make the American boat? No, he's not being, that's unlike Phil Robertson, a nice generous move there. Could have gone a bit closer to the US, in my opinion, and made it hard for him. Go Denmark second. What are these guys? What have they done overnight? Canada and Denmark.
Just some bad ways all the time.
They were at the back of the pack yesterday and they looked brilliant, but who? Jimmy Spithill on the United States boat there. Wow, they're doing such a nice job working through the fleet. Contan de la Pierre, he's got a chance to dive inside. He's going to take it. That was perfectly legitimate, I think, for me there for Contan. Jimmy back to 4th, clinging on to the final though with a 4th place. This next turn in by the Cádiz shoreline could be crucial for the Americans. Fall off the foils, could be a place in the final at risk.
USA needs to get back up on the foils and start their attack of the French, who sit in 3rd. That's a position they desperately would like to have. Canada way out in front right now.
I don't know a lot of French, but c'est super is good news for the French boat, and they're in 3rd, sailing the boat nicely. And really they're dominating the overall standings at the moment. They're right up there with the Australians, pushing hard. Australia 5th. America have stayed on the foils. That's good news for the United States fans there as they head on this downwind leg. Great Britain, top of screen. Oh my word, 9th place. Maybe that rudder issue that we talked about has let them down.
The race to the final continues on. The positions continue to change. Right now it would be Australia, France, and USA in the final, with Canada missing out by 1 point.
Here we go. French, they're in space. United States set up to turn. The French set up to turn at the same time. Let's watch them manoeuvre here. Can they keep the boat foiling? Contan de la Pierre driving. Francois Morvan on the flight control there as they spin. Look how fast they turn the boat. Still green at the top of the mast for the French. It looks like they're going to stay on the foils. Foiling away at the front, Todd. Canada.
Canada on leg number 5. This is the penultimate leg. It's up to the top of the course in a left-hand turn. Can they make it 2 wins in a row? But Stevie, at this point, even if they win this race, they need help from the rest of the fleet. They need some people to get past the USA and France and some other teams to move up and push the Americans down the ladder. Otherwise, they're going to miss out by just a mere point.
Yeah, but they can only control their destiny. One bad manoeuvre for the Canadians and they could lose out to this Danish crew who are sailing very well today. But yes, they need the United States to lose 1 play. Remember, if it's a tie, Todd,
right,
they're both tied on points. It's whoever's done best in this last race. And obviously for Canada, that's pretty good news. But the United States are aiming almost straight at them at the moment. Potentially a penalty here.
Yeah, this will be 100% H1. Little high mode here. Anyway, just keep clear.
United States, they're slow. Can they stay foiling? No, they can't. This could be crucial here. Can the United States get back on the foils before the Australians or the Swiss come into the scene? Nice job by the United States boat there.
No choice. Stand by.
Oh, Jimmy, one more turn. He wants a right turn. They obviously feel there's a lot more. The whole fleet has sailed back towards Cádiz. Looks like it's good on that side, Hannah.
Yeah, I mean, both legs, we've seen the fleet wanting to get to that shore side towards the city. There must be more pressure over there, so it must be the favoured side. And they're doing more manoeuvres to be able to get there, which says a lot in these tricky conditions.
Ooh, the USA boat gets very high as they go around gate number 4. You know, for Canada, guys, they got to look to day number 1, Stevie. You know, you can't win the regatta on day number 1, but you can certainly throw it away. And Canada's performance on day 1 was not stellar. They got a 7th, they got a 6th, and they got an 8th.
Well, they are, but look at that, as you say. I mean, right now, 2 first, but they're still 1 point away from the United States. It's all about, can the United States hang on to their 4th position on the water, which gives them 3rd in this race to the final at the moment. Oh, it's so tight. Struggling to keep foiling there on the American. Jimmy Spittle, let's go on to H1. Let's put the boat down in the water. We're not going fast enough to fly the boat in the air. We've got to sail slower and on the ground. And right as they fall off the foils, the Canadian boat manages to pop the boat up on the foils. Phil Robertson's really happy here, he says. But what isn't happy, look at these ladder lines, Todd. It's under 50 metres as they're progressing left to right of the screen up the course. It's tight with the Canadians. They need to stay ahead of the Danish boat to have a shot.
The USA just flying one hole right now. They maintain that 4th position right now. France in front of them. Canada really not a concern for the USA squad, but the USA squad is a big concern for Canada. Great Britain now just heading downwind in 9th place.
Yeah, it's a big, disastrous day for the British boat. I'm sure there's going to be serious debrief after this for them here. This result is not good news. But right now, the Canadians, they've turned. They've probably got one more turn to do on board the Canadian boat on the right-hand side of our screen. Danish boat chasing down Phil Robertson, but I think it's going to be too little too late for Nikolai Seherstedt. It's going to be another win. So now it's all about, can Jimmy Spittle's United States team stay in 4th and make it to another final?
Yeah, and we can just see, just on the left of our screen, how far ahead actually the USA team are of their closest rivals, the Swiss and the Australian teams. So from here, I think they'd have to have a real major one to drop back any further. So almost guaranteed into that final.
Through the last gate goes Phil Robertson and the Canadians as they approach the finish line. What a day it has been for the Canadians. They win race 4. They back it up with a win in race number 5.
Oh, snake eyes for Canada there, Todd. 2 firsts. What an absolutely brilliant day sailing by. And the Danish. I mean, you've got to hand it to the coaching staff on both those teams to pick them up. And then both teams have come out incredibly today, performance-wise. But as you say, can't win it if you've had a bad first day.
Yeah, what a difference a day makes, because Canada goes 1-1, Denmark goes 4-2, and France will come in and a nice performance in race number 4. That gave them a 5th and a 3rd here as they cross the line in 3rd place.
Oh, there you go. Happy. That's a good result there. And well, you've got to say, Jimmy Spittle, they were over at the start. Nearly had a big incident with the Kiwis. Well, here we go. This is Paul Campbell-James. It's tight.
Yeah, they're doing math on board.
It is tight, Campbell. I've spent a bit of time with Paul, and I'm not sure I'd be trusting his maths, to be perfectly honest. But I think in this instance, he might have it right. The wing trimmer, Paul Campbell-James, trying to fly that big wing sail and do his maths at the same time.
And the USA will cross the line in 4th place. Have they done enough to clinch a spot in the podium?
They have, if Hannah Mills has got her sums right. Here we go. Listen in, what a performance, because they were right in the pack.
Yep.
That was a brilliant performance to work their way through the fleet by the US boat there.
But you almost have to go back to the 4th race, or the 1st race of today, and Spithill and company, when they were in the very back, they were in dead last in 9th, and they worked their way up to 6th place, which salvaged so many points, and they may get into that podium race by virtue of 1 point.
Did somebody say comeback?
Loves that word. So Switzerland now coming in. Will they grab the 5th place? Everyone jockeying for positions, but at this point, Stevie, it looks like it is a done deal.
Yeah, I think they've bunched the tickets there. The Australians have sailed well all weekend. They've just scrapped when they needed to scrap. And nice to see the Swiss finishing with a good result.
Yep.
Big improvements in this race for the Swiss team, and you know, obviously trying to take those learnings they've had from the last few events with Nathan Outridge on the team. Not here this weekend though.
Seb Schneider and Switzerland SailGP cross the line with a 5th place. And here come the Australians, the 2-time reigning and defending champions. They will cross in 6th place. Should be enough to get them into the big show.
Often you get this Australian boat in the final. Pretty hard to beat in a final.
And they were just saying who else, the French and who else, and they said Jimmy.
Yeah.
That's a shocker right there.
Been 3 finals in a row for New Zealand, but that run's coming to an end. Not going to be happy, this New Zealand boat. Just really not quite got to grips with this swell. And look, there you go, race to the final. Down there, Hannah, your maths were right. France, United States and the USA, and I've got to say, that was some battle.
So France, Australia, and the USA are into the podium race by just the smallest of margins, but it is on for the final race of the day.
Yeah, so we had a couple of key moments again in this race. I think this was a big one here. The Kiwis coming in, barging in. They didn't have room to go inside the Swiss team, got a penalty, and for me that was kind of their race to get into the podium over. But you know, they had to push it. They had to push everything they could to try and make it, and unfortunately this time it didn't quite pay off for them. And then the other one for me was the USA team, which I think we're about to see. The USA team just sailing really solidly to consolidate that 4th place and make their way into the final. It didn't look quite like they knew the exact points, but they, you know, under high pressure, they managed to sail really consistently, keep the boat out of the water, keep it trucking, and yeah, finish in 4th place.
And there were moments, Stevie, where it looked like the USA squad had no business even being near the top 3, but they did enough. Jimmy Spithill surprisingly found enough there to get the points to get them in the top 3.
Yeah, they just did a great job, and I think as Hannah alluded to, they're just sailing smoothly. Erica at the back's finding space for them on the track, and they move through. Contan, what a performance. Allez les Bleus, you've won the series up to now, but it's of course the final race. Well, how does the strategy change for you in this final podium race?
Quite nothing. Quite nothing, Stevie. I think it's tough conditions, pre-trophy, wavy, also a bit light today, so we just try to sail the boat smoothly, and I think if you start to match race with someone, it's over, and the third one will win the final.
And I see Kevin Pepinay in front of you there. The strategy is the most important thing, or is it still how well you can fly the boat in this big waves?
Yeah, I think it's kind of hierarchy. If you are, firstly you have to fly the boat to sail the good angle, and after the strategy is coming. Yeah, that's our way of sailing, but at the time we are on the foil, Mano and I try to find the good spot with the best wind, and yeah, cross fingers.
Well, okay, you have a bit more space on the race course now, so bon chance.
So after 5 races here at the Spain Sail Grand Prix Andalucía Cádiz presented by Near, we take a look at how it all shakes down. It is France, even on points with Australia, but they had a higher placing in the last race, so they get the nod, and it's Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP moving on to the podium race. The Canadians just miss out by 1 point, and the same story for Great Britain. Well, the crowds, they've all got themselves a good spot and a huge armada out on the water as we approach 7 minutes to go before the final race. It'll be the podium race and the race for the championship here in Spain. Well, the Impact League is SailGP's innovative sustainability league, which involves all teams pitting themselves against each other in a competition off the water. Each team is scored over 10 different categories during each event, including waste, travel, energy consumption, as well as using their voice to raise awareness of the challenges we are facing as a planet and the race for the future. At the midway point of the season, it's New Zealand leading, followed closely by the Danes. And the USA won most improved after Saint-Tropez, and they won on the water as well. Each team will be battling hard off the water for the rest of the season, aiming to be crowned the ultimate Impact League champions in SailGP's podium for the planet. Well, you better have staked out a good spot on the seawall, because that is the spot where you want to be. The podium race is coming up next. Who will take it all? Will it be France, Australia, or the USA? We're about to find out.
Coming away, 2, here we go.
Plastic is everywhere. It's in the ocean, which is our racetrack. And if something doesn't change, there's going to be more plastic than fish in the ocean. How crazy is that? My goal was to raise awareness about plastic in the ocean by cycling and exploring the coast between France and the Spanish SailGP events. So I hopped on my bike and off I went. Next stop, Cádiz. Tammy, extra mix. Downtown Toulon! Woo! That car is not stopping. See you at the beach. As I kept riding and sort of looked at things, and what stood out was that we just still need to really rethink of how we're interacting with the different products that we're using. How can we work to change, and just seeing things from a different perspective and rethinking of what can we do. And that's just thinking a little bit more about when I use something, what happens to it next. When I have a can or I have a plastic bottle, the reality is you're gonna interact with that product at some point in your life. You can't fully avoid it, but what happens to it next? What do I do with it? Thinking through that one next step and reminding your friends to think through that one next step. I saw plastic along the entire coastline of my journey. We should take better care of our coastlines to protect our oceans.
It's time for the final. Just 3 teams, 18 crew, and 1 show-stopping race. The pressure is on. Who will take to the Spain Sail Grand Prix? We are about to find out the big race, the grand finale, the podium race here at the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near. The fans have turned out in force on a picture-perfect day here in Cádiz. So let's take a moment and meet the drivers of those who made it in. It is Jimmy Spithill. And I'll tell you what, your eyes automatically go to that America's Cup. He won 2 of those and the great comeback that he had in 2013 in San Francisco. 3 world championships, and maybe more importantly, Stevie, Jimmy Spithill coming off a big win in Saint-Tropez.
Yeah, and Tom Slingsby, I think, you know, he's the master in SailGP, really. The most fleet races, 2 championship wins. He's a 2-time defending champion. He's won it all. Can he win again here in Cádiz?
And the new kid on the block, Quentin Delapierre. It was a year ago that he took over for France SailGP from Billy Basson. Still trying to build that resume, but I'll tell you what, you keep getting into podium races, Stevie, and you're going to get a big following. And he's done a great job to get his squad into this podium race in Spain.
I think they've done a great job of learning, Todd, and this final is going to potentially be a defining moment for Delapierre. We see, look, Spithill and Slingsby in the middle of our screen with 2 seconds to go. They've won it all. Delapierre, wow, what a chance for him.
The course for the final race is 6 legs, axis is 238. The wind is approximately 15 kilometers per hour. This race is to be sailed with 4 crew.
Wow, look at that, 4 crew. Hannah, how does that change the dynamic? This is massive change-up.
Yeah, this is a massive change-up. So the strategist role will go into a grinder position, and it means a lot more pressure on all of the crew doing their roles, but especially for the drivers, because through a lot of the sailing in a straight line, they'll be having to do the flight control. So a big change-up, a big thing to get kind of your heads around just before the start of this final race.
And Stevie, for those who are new to sailing, as we come up on 90 seconds to go before the start of the podium race, why do you drop from 6 to 4?
The wind's dropped, there's a bit less horsepower out there, so by taking people off the boats are a bit lighter, so it should be able to come up on the foil quicker. For me, this is a massive advantage for the Australians. I think that the Americans, I don't know if Hans Henken's ever sailed in this format. I'll be interested to see who's on the US crew. We'll find that out in a moment. For Slingsby, this is an absolute shot in the arm. Big bonus for them.
So coming up on 1 minute to go, this is the final race of the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near. 1 minute until the start.
Voice of Tom Slingsby there. He's out the back. The French have turned. It's going to be about the timing on this start. If Tom Slingsby leads off this start, well, we know how good he is in this position. Spithill on board the US boat turns aggressively in front of the Australians, and the French have got space at the moment, but they're really slow. 15 kilometers an hour. Green on the top of the Australian and the US mast. They're going fast enough to foil, and can the French boat make it happen? It's going to be a question of timing here. Right-hand side of the screen, there's the red start line. It's going to turn white when we're clear to go, and it's that pole position. The French boat looks well lined up for pole position, but foiling out the back, it's Slingsby. They're going to look on a timed run in from here, but as the boats turn down, I like the position of the French. If they can get fast enough to foil, how's your timing on board the boats here? The French look good. It goes green. Let's watch for the line to turn white. clear start. Great start by De La Pierre, but look at the speed on the Australian. Slingsby, can he slingshot through the middle?
And they are 3 wide as they make their way to mark number 1 here in the podium race.
Great start by the French there, and I think if they can turn away here, how important is this first manoeuvre after Mark 1, Hannah?
Yeah, this is so important. This is a massive part of the race. A fantastic start by the French team there, getting their timing spot on, up on the foils, hitting that line at max speed. But this first manoeuvre is absolutely everything. I think they'll all probably try and hang on close to the boundary to try and minimise manoeuvres, but yeah, then the pressure's on.
Talk to me a lot about angle. I want to keep my air clear on these guys. Yeah.
Tom Slingsby's worried about the American boat stealing their wind. If they steal their wind, he's going to have to turn away, because if that happens, he's just going to slow up. So for the moment, look at the ladder line. It's a 50-metre lead, if not more, for Quentin de La Pierre on the French. But that boundary's looming large, and when they go to do this turn on the boundary with just 4 on the boat, pressure, pressure, pressure. Can they stay foiling? The Australians have done a bad one. It's going to be a big loss.
They splashed down.
Yeah, big loss coming up for them here, Todd. But can the other team stick the turn? Tom Slingsby, it's going to be a long race.
Behind us, huge lift.
Really long if he's not happy. Yep. Not happy. And look, the 2 boats in front have stayed on the foils. This is a massive moment. Brilliant manoeuvre.
So you have the winners of the last event in Saint-Tropez, USA SailGP, and France looking for their first overall SailGP regatta victory. Does it come today in Spain, or the Americans spoil that, and Australia's got to come to terms? They're now 200 meters back.
USA looks fast. Jimmy Spittle going to be on the inside at gate 2 here. It's going to be advantage USA at the bottom. Excuse you for the industrial language there as they come in. A slight tense moment for Jimmy Spittle. Look, he's put the bow in the water, sticks it down. Can he stay foiling? He's going to hold the inside here as they enter the yellow circle. That gives him the right of way. De La Pierre's going to have to follow. Oh, the French fall down off the foils as well. They're just fast enough at the moment, though. Look at the American boat there, he flies too high. Oh no, massive moment. France spins around behind, turns away. They put the boat down. It's all going to be about the re-acceleration now. Tom Slingsby said it's going to be a long race. Oh my Lord, the pressure's on these crews.
So tight quarters at gate number 2 between the USA and France. They both have a moment. Now it's time to clear that water and get back up and sailing.
He turns up into the wind. As you turned the wind up here, the boat just starts to get too much lift on that main foil, and it just stalled. It was going too slowly to stay in the air. It jumped up, and what goes up must come down. Jimmy Spittle there struggling on the steering wheel at the back, and well, still early enough in the race for that not to be totally decisive.
Stevie, does that happen if they have 6 crew members on board?
Oh, that's a good question. Mistakes happen with any number of crew members on the boat. That was purely a mistake, Todd. I think there's a lot more pressure on the drivers, as Hannah said. They're now flying the boat. We can see 2 of the athletes there, Manon and that's Mathieu Van Dam, are on the pumps. They're on the handles, controlling the big wing sail, helping Kevin Pepinay pull it in. But their right hand is Quentin steering, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a big moment coming up as well when the French boat have to manoeuvre and turn back the other way. The American boat will have right of way, and this is a big moment coming up in the race.
They're up and foiling, Hannah. That's got to be a pretty good feeling if you're on that French boat, over 150 metres ahead.
France would be getting their very first SailGP event victory if they could hold on here. And what a day to do it, Stevie. This is 1 year removed, really, almost to the date that Quentin de La Pierre took over for the French team.
Yeah, in some ways, maybe controversially took over. Yeah. You know, Billy Besson had some not bad results at that point, but yes, it's a good moment. It's gone green on the American boat. They're 100 metres behind at the moment, but as soon as you start getting on the foils, it can make a big difference.
Yeah, and we can just see with this graphic kind of how much the Australians kind of struggled, you know, how far behind they are, but they are making a good comeback. I'm impressed to see actually how much they've clawed their way back. I think it's never over till it's over, this race.
Remember, green means go. When you see those numbers at the top of the masthead go green, that means they've got the speed to go foiling, and that's what they're all shooting for. When it dips below 30, you got problems, and right now the French sitting at 40, the Americans just tipping over 30.
French are doing a good job, but every time the camera pans back and we see the Australian boat, I can't help but hear the theme tune from Jaws. And they're just coming. They don't go away, the Australians. We know that. They're going to be looming in the background, but if the French can keep sailing as well as this, they're going to take some catching.
At the halfway point of the podium race between France, the USA, and Australia, it is a tight one. The French trying to hold on to this lead and get their first victory as we check in down on the water, and Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Todd, the wind's actually picked up a bit, which is ironic now that they've got 4 people on board, but it's still super patchy, which is why we're seeing them sometimes foil and sometimes not. They're really going to converge as they head towards gate number 4, and I think this left turn that the French are about to do is definitely the favoured side, so I would expect the Americans to follow.
On that, as the French will be the first ones to turn down the course, the Americans are up and foiling again, if so barely, and again they go high, Stevie, and come down. You talk about riding a Bronco. That's kind of the situation they're dealing with out here today.
Yeah, I think you've suddenly only got one hand to control that main foil, whereas you had one of the athletes purely focused on that. Contan, Jimmy, in this situation, are having to drive the boat, but also fly the boat, and I just think they can't move it quick enough to adapt to the way the sea state's moving. The sea state is changing the load on that foil. More load, you lift up out the water, which is normally good, but too high, and it's a bit of a shocker. French are off the foils though in the background. Look at that, 16 kilometers an hour. They're going to struggle. Big mistake by them. USA set up for the turn. They put the bow in the water as well. Can they stay foiling? At the moment, they're fast enough. Oh my word, this is going to compress. Oh, the French are still off the foils.
This is huge for the Australians. If they can keep up and foiling and get through that manoeuvre, they might be back in this race.
And look in the background, great viewing up on the seawall for the thousands of fans who have turned out today for the Spain Sail Grand Prix. And right in front of them, one of the most dramatic moments of the race as France puts it in the water. The USA follows, and here they come. The Australians, the 2-time reigning and defending champions, they have closed the gap.
French are on the foils again though, Todd, and they're still some 200 metres ahead of the Australians, but if this next turn, if the Australians manage to do it well, they're going to be really back in the race with leg 4 of 6 here. We're over the halfway mark of this final. It's getting down to the real pressure moment. Look, right-hand side of the screen, Australia. Can they stay on the foils? Not sure they can in the background there as the French set up for their next turn. Watch them turn. Nice smooth turn by Contan de la Pierre on the wheel there. The boat's still dry at the moment. A dry boat is a very, very happy boat. What a manoeuvre by the French. Oh, here Manon working so hard on the handles there. She's on her own, got to pull in that big wing sail for Kevin Pepinay there. It's a massive effort as the French, they're nearly too high out the water. And we look at the head-to-heads here. Well, the average speed, that's the one that's defining it for me. The French on average, and just that bit faster around the course. Maybe not flying as much as the Australians, but they're going faster on average.
Yeah, this is really impressive by this French team. Probably one of the least experienced teams sailing in this combination of 4 up as well.
And just like that, the USA squad has found some pressure. So look at their speed starting to build. Going over 45 kilometers an hour to the French's 40.
Oh no, they've put the bow into the water there. Can they stay flying? The speed's falling away really, really quickly here. It's light winds at the bottom. Still just about quick enough, but the US are going fast. Here we go, one more turn for Jimmy Spittle. Will he follow the French? It looks like he's going to. I'm surprised. Are you surprised he's following there, Hannah?
Yeah, I am surprised he's following. I mean, I think that side of the course is definitely favoured. You know, we've seen all the teams wanting to head over there, but to get down to that mark, he had to come off the foils. And so, yeah, he's put himself in a bit of a tricky position here now following the French.
I just feel like that was maybe a conservative move, not a move to win the event. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Slingsby chooses to do on the Australian boat at the bottom here. Aiming right at the Americans. It's the Australians with the right of way. And we're on board the French. And we can see, looking back at Jimmy Spittle, USA and the French, we're on board looking back. Both teams look pretty relaxed at the moment. Who's going to be first to foil? Spittle called for a pop on the foil, and there, sure enough, they're up and out of the water. When the two boats meet again, it's going to be the United States with the right of way. That might not be for another minute or so, but they're flying. And that's got to be a good sign for US fans.
This is leg 5 of 6. It's to the top of the course and then a left-hand turn to the finish line, and a champion will be crowned. Right now it is France that has about a 100-meter lead over the USA. Australia now coming back into the picture again. Stevie, cue the Jaws music.
Here they come. I think it could be too little too late. The battle now is, can the Americans execute this next turn and get back up on the foils quickly? The French, they're still not green. Oh, they've just turned green on the top of their mast. They should be fast enough to foil, but as they come back together, the American boat, the US team, are going to have the right of way. The French must keep clear.
And a pretty nice maneuver there, Hannah.
Yeah, that is impressive. They were just at the speed limit of trying to make a foiling tack, and I think they've just about got away with that. But as you can see, that the French team are coming across, and I think they're still going to stay ahead. Yeah, they're just still ahead of the USA team.
Crucially here, Todd, it's how many more times have they got to turn the boat before they can make the next gate? We can see we're leg 5 of 6. There's 50 meters in it. There's nothing in it. But
look at the speed. Look at the speed.
Yeah, and even in French, Todd, they say ley line. That's what they're talking about. Where's the point that we can turn and make the next gate? USA will have to turn the boat 2 more times at least. If the French can do it in 1, the French will win this.
Quentin Delapierre looking to keep his cool as he will have 1 more maneuver to make, and then it'll thread the needle through the gate, and the finish line will await him some 200 meters down.
Oh, they're flying too high there, Todd, as they set up. Wow, they've got out. Going to lose a lot of speed in that. Nice turn. Go, 4-4-4, strong man on. That's Kevin Pepinay. We can see there's nothing at the yellow line here. That's the ley line. If the French can stay sailing parallel to that, they should make the gate. Here come the USA.
And the USA, though, Stevie, to your point, have 1 more maneuver to make.
They do. 1 more maneuver. Can they get across? And also the French have the right of way. That could be crucial as well. If it's close, the Americans are going to have to avoid the French.
Less than 50 meters separate them, and Hannah Mills, it will all come down to this final maneuver for the Americans, and if they can keep foiling.
Yeah, this is absolutely massive. This is the race-winning maneuver. Let's see if they can make it.
Oh, they're going to try too hard. It's so tight. Now the French have got to keep clear of the Americans. The Americans have the right of way. Jimmy Spithill knows that, but the French boat's foiling. Can Jimmy put him off his foils? Expect an aggressive move from the Americans coming.
Classic match race in the final gate. It's the Americans on the inside, the French on the outside.
It's going to be a sprint now. They're both off the foils, Todd. It's a sprint to the foils, and there's the finish line coming into view.
Separated by just a few meters. With the finish line there, who will get the win as they come to the line here in Spain? And it will be France getting their first victory in SailGP St. Magnifique.
Oh, les bleus!
What a race!
What a performance as the crew was reduced from 6 to 4, and Quentin Delapierre just holding off the pit bull. Jimmy Spithill closing in, giving a wave and a classy move as France gets their first victory. Team USA will settle for 2nd, and here come the 2-time defending and reigning champions and series leaders Australia taking 3rd.
Wow. What a great race that was, Todd. Oh. What an amazing performance by the French.
Best finishes we've seen all year long, and it's France in the end that prevails.
Yeah, well, here we go. We're going to come and have a look at a few of the big moments in that race now. We're coming back to it, and at gate 2, we see here the US had snuck into the lead. And was this? Well, it turned out to be so decisive. The USA dived inside. He had all the rights to do that. But as he turned up, they spun the boat. He couldn't control the foil during that turn. And as he turned up, the boat just got a little out of control. Here, look, it leaps up, comes out of the water. What goes up must come down, and they really slowed up in that. That allowed the French to sneak inside, turn away smoothly, and I think really that was probably the key moment of it, as the US just carried on sailing away. They couldn't get back up to speed quick enough. And well, the French there, that was the first moment they moved away, took the lead. They looked pretty good from here, and I just think it was the story of the race, the story of the day really, was could you sail smoothly under pressure? The French did in that moment there, and wow, couldn't be happier for Quentin and the team because they've worked so hard to achieve a brilliant result.
and Hannah Mills, there were big moments across the course all day long.
Yeah, I mean, this was it. This was the race-winning move from the French to just manage to keep clear of the USA team who tacked in there. They threw everything at it to try and get the victory at this event. You know, throwing it in, trying to stay up on the foils, couldn't quite manage it. And we see the French team here just keeping up on the foils, falling off, but then building speed quicker than the American team to get back up and running and cross that finish line first. Absolutely amazing performance.
Maybe one of the closest races we've had in the history of SailGP as France just holds off. Jimmy Spithill and USA SailGP at the line, less than a boat length as they come. You figure if there was another 50 meters, Spithill possibly gets him, but man, what a performance by the French team. They did a masterful job, and they did not wilt under pressure as we now go on board with the French team. Quentin Delapierre, congratulations to both you and your crew. And Quentin, I'll tell you what, big waves, light wind, lots of points and pressure on the line. How did you get it done?
Yeah. I mean, huge improvements. It's since months now for the French team, and I mean, winning this Grand Prix on the four thing, it was a huge step forward for the team.
Quentin, it was a brilliant start under pressure in the final there. And how tight was it with the Americans as they lost control in front of you at gate 2? That was a big moment.
Yeah, sure. Big moment, tight battle with the Americans, and sorry, they are asking. Big battle with the Americans, especially at the leeward mark, and I was struggling doing the maneuvers with my leeward rake. It was quite new to do it as I can and keep our strategy clean.
And if we can, speak with Manon Audonay. And Manon, take us through that last gate when you went around the final gate and you saw the Americans closing. What were you thinking?
I mean, sorry, it's pretty busy out there. They were closing the gap. We were ahead, and we were looking for the left side, so ahead on the right gate it was quite safe strategically, and I mean I spent a long time sailing with Manon and Kevin, and Mathieu did also a very good job, so we was pretty patient.
Quentin, we wonder, is Manon around? Manon, you've had to do the strategy all day, and then suddenly at the end of the day, you've had to go and do the grinding. How was it to be part of a French team, the first to win in SailGP?
It was pretty amazing. I didn't see a lot of things during the last race, but I had to use my arms, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was really awesome, Manon. Congratulations, enjoy yourself.
Let the celebration begin on board France SailGP. All right, let's go back to race number 4. And what a start to the day. The start, Stevie, were the key. And everyone just, the drama.
There was a lot of drama, that is for sure. And I mean, the story of the day for me, I mean, the Canadian team, what an improvement. I mean, they made some massive gains, but it was pressure. I mean, so many teams were in the final at one point or another during the 4th and 5th race today, and it was, this start here. We see the Kiwis trying to dive in. They just had no right to be in there. He had to go over the line early. Burling, first signs of pressure for a while. Spain over early, US over early, but Jimmy Spithill, well, he managed to split away from the fleet, and while Burling was having to look for spectacular moves that ultimately were adjudged to be fouls, Spithill sailed it smooth and away after that mistake at the start. And here it was these crucial little details, pretty much a dress rehearsal for the final, that little move in there at the end, and once again, Quentin getting the better. But yeah, brilliant performance, probably by the coaching staff of the Canadian and the Danish teams to turn thing around overnight. But as a team collective, the US, first hints of a comeback, think for the Australians, it's another average one. They'll be happy enough. They made the final, but look, it's pretty rare to see Tom Slingsby that far back at the start, I think. And yeah, it's great to see the French. What a performance, Hannah.
Yeah, what a performance. They've been kind of building all season and been pushing for a regatta win. So amazing to see them really pull it off under such high pressure and such tricky conditions as well that we saw today.
And it looked like the Australians had sorted things out, Steve, as they closed the gap. But this last 30 seconds was the moment.
Yeah, I definitely heard the wrong theme tune. They never quite got back into it, Todd. And the US here, I've got to say, I'd love to talk to Jimmy whether he thought he could have been more aggressive in that moment. I just, you know, it was perhaps half a chance, but wow. The French, they kept fast, they kept smooth, they kept clinical, and thoroughly deserved win.
As we take it back down on the water, the presentation now for the champions, and Antonio Orozco, a Spanish singer-songwriter, very well known in these parts, will make that presentation as the French get to celebrate and pop the bubbly here on the Atlantic. There it is.
Pretty confident they're going to know how to celebrate, Todd. Hopefully no singing from Contan, though. That's my vote.
And now the celebration can really begin, and this is an opportunity that the French have been looking for, as we've said before. Quentin Delapierre, 1 year removed from coming on board, and here they are in the winner's circle at the Spain Sail Grand Prix, presented by Near. Hannah, you've been a part of a few of these celebrations before. It's after a long weekend, and it's not just the racing on course, but that's the build-up before, the docking out. This is sensational.
Yeah, I mean, this is SailGP history. The first time a French team have won an event in SailGP. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I can tell you there's nothing like being on the top step of that podium. You know, these athletes will be absolutely loving this moment, and we can see that they are.
Yeah, and they've made some bold choices, bold decisions, and it's just paid off, so fair play to the French.
So 2 events and 2 different winners back-to-back. In Saint-Tropez, it was the USA squad that got their first win, and in Spain, it's France. France gets the win and the 10 points that go with it. The USA finishes in second, Australia in third, Canada just missing out on the podium, and then Great Britain, New Zealand. Surprised to see Spain that far back with Denmark and Switzerland at the back of the fleet. As we update the standings, a little more breathing room now for Australia, 4 points clear of New Zealand. France comfortably in third place. Great Britain, Canada, Denmark, and the USA starting to creep back up. Now they're in 7th place in Spain and Switzerland. Stevie, your final thoughts?
Oh, I just think it just shows us the depth now. We've had New Zealand win an event, we've had America win an event, it's the US team, and we've now got the French. The league is just on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, we're just seeing more and more teams capable of winning events, which is really exciting for us to watch, but also just keeps compressing the top 3. You know, it keeps changing around. We keep getting new faces in there, so I can't wait for the rest of the season.
That'll wrap things up for now. Remember, our next event is Dubai Sail Grand Prix, November 12th and 13th. We hope to see you there, but we now say adios, hasta la próxima. As we get ready to move on to Dubai, we say goodbye from Europe. So for Stevie Morrison, Lisa Darmanin, and the 2-time Olympic gold medalist Hannah Mills, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. Thanks for watching. You've been watching the Spain Sail Grand Prix presented by Near. We'll see you in Dubai. We welcome you to the Spain Sail Grand Prix, the hometown favorite, Spain.
Yeah, they're giving the fans what they want there.
I'm not fighting with the height, it's cause you're fighting on the mic and they never like this. 6'4", you can try, can oversight this. One smoke, put this in your pipe and the light.
Look at the American boat there, he flies too high.
Will be France getting their first victory at SailGP St. Magnifique.